nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start out, we got any public comment? John?
8 days ago, I asked for a copy of a vendor contract in the accounting for 15 months, which should really only be maybe 15 entries, and I'm saddened that in 8 days I can't have that, because I'd like to have talked about it tonight, so I'll bring it up next meeting.
Anybody else?
Linda Horak, I just wanted to let you guys know that the blight elimination grant from FOR is out and on the website for the state land authority. If anybody's interested in taking a look at it, feel free. Got questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. Anybody else? Barb?
I sent you a letter after the last meeting, and I know that you don't read those letters out loud. And basically what I had said in the meeting, that I found it unsettling that we don't have anyone on the board in charge of the park project who is the point guard. So people can say, oh, how much have we spent, what's happening, so that they could answer. And that's a very expensive project. It reflects upon the whole community, and I wish that we had someone on the board who would say, I'm in charge of that, you can contact me, and so on and so forth. So I really still don't know who's in charge of that, or who is responsible. Unfortunately, we eliminated that group, or they resigned or something, I don't know. But we still have that as a big problem. I volunteered before that I would help the board, I would volunteer my time to help the board come up with a 5-year plan or the goals and so on and so forth. And I would gladly still do that because it's important for us if we're going to go for grants. Today I sent you an email, and letting people know today. I sent an email to the people who are in charge with ACAP. And I don't know if you've read that or not. Okay. But it's important because I keep on hearing from people, if the records are gone, how can we say that they paid us back for renovating this facility? So it puts in my mind a doubt. The township spent $30,000 to renovate the facility to provide space for ACAP. And it probably wasn't paid back. Now, I know, Nancy, you said that it was paid back.
No, Barb, I will correct you on that. What I said is my former employer used to do work for them on Head Start rooms, and they always paid us through ACAP.
Okay. I've given it to them to let them to define it, but they're not finding that information. So it's based upon hearsay from you hearing from what that person said. So it sounds to me that we did.
I was one that deposited those checks in that bank account from
Well,
ACAP.
but however, when I requested that before, that information was not available. Because
This was on somebody that has nothing to do with here. I'm saying what ACAP did with other contractors I know.
okay, you're interrupting me. You're taking my time.
I'm sorry. Give us 30 seconds.
More than that. I would suggest that we need to verify that. If that's information that you have and you've not shared it with the board, there's still a question in my mind that we did this gratis. We did this to make people in the community happy that we have ACAP here. So I've now placed it to the people in charge of ACAP to give us that information. And after talking to one of these people, they said they're not finding that information. And I talked to them today. So I think that we need to really be sure how we're spending our funds. Are we getting dollar for dollar, whatever, back as we're supposed to? And I find it disappointing that that's not something that we have the knowledge about. I know that you had a connection with the former clerk, and you said he had this information. Well, if he had this information, then you need to get that and share it with the rest of us.
I guess you'll have to check with them.
I can't. He doesn't have to FOIA any information to me.
Anybody else? approve the agenda, after the reports, we're gonna move the sewer department up there, and then, Todd Sadler from the drain wants to speak on the Schnurbarger drain, we're gonna move them to before correspondence. So they don't have to stick around. I need a motion to approve it, or is there anything else anybody want to add? I need a motion to approve the agenda, accept the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Discussion, please. The minutes from the September 13th meeting. G Park Project. I believe what was said when it was asked to continue moving forward with the park project, is that we wouldn't be using all of the ARPA and marijuana funds, and that wording is not there. It says using ARPA and marijuana funds.
We discussed the potential, but I
Right.
believe that motion was just support of project.
And this says using ARPA and marijuana funds for it.
Wasn't that the conversation?
We had talked about that before, but that was not the motion. That was not your motion. Cause I just watched the meeting
Okay,
again
that's fine. So
today.
we take that out, just moving forward.
With the park project.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
and we may well be using those, but that's not what we voted on at that motion.
okay, that's fine.
Okay, motion by Patty, seconded by Sarah, to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carried. I need a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Motion to accept it. I'll second
Discussion.
Okay. Pat, you had mentioned at a board meeting that you were gonna get some input from Yo and Yo, and you were gonna take it out of your training budget. You've taken it out of professional and contractor services to pay that bill this month, not out of your
Okay.
training budget. So I'm not sure, but that is what you had said.
it. Okay, I'll correct that line item.
And you know already my question on the payroll shortage for the July, board members.
Okay,
I'm going, it's a year to year because we have no board change. You're saying it's a partial month. I disagree with that totally.
so the check that is written tonight to the board members is for, and I'm sorry, I don't have the date for you, but Thursday after the board meeting, so I'm gonna say September 12th, just because I don't know exactly. September 12th, the payroll tonight is for September 12th through October 11th. So that's the 30-day period. The same thing happened when I did the July check, right?
It was in June to July.
It was, so that, the reason I only gave you $50 increase was because it was from June 12th to June 30th, which the raise was not effective until July 1st. So there was, that's why it was only the $50 increase instead of a $100 increase.
So you're saying that all the previous years, because we've had raises previous years and you've paid us the full amount in July, you've overpaid us each of those years. And now you're saying you're not.
I can't
I
speak.
disagree with it totally.
Okay, so I can't speak to previous years because I
I
don't.
can because I keep track of my payroll.
So,
And everybody noticed that that check was short. And everybody kept asking, well, everybody, a couple people kept asking me, well, when are we gonna get the rest of our money? And that $50, I mean, it was different for everyone here, but it did not make it out as far as I'm concerned. We did not have a board member change. I know you change it when board members change, because I've seen that happen.
So I guess what would be fair in this situation, in my opinion, is go back and look at previous years when there has been an increase to see how it's paid out. When there wasn't a board meeting and then, or a board change,
And
and
then
then
we
we'll go
have
from
in an
there.
election year when somebody's taking over.
See how it was done in previous years.
That was-
More?
I think so.
And motion by Lee, seconded by Patty to accept the consent agenda.
We've already had the motion, we did discussion.
I needed to add a payment that Mike gave me last minute. Can I just add it? I'm sorry, I totally forgot.
No, go ahead.
Mike just gave me a bill for discount tire, and so needs to be added to the bills for
Okay,
$276.86.
okay.
So it's just adding that bill, I'm sorry.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Chris?
Yeah, we had, meeting was yesterday, with a holiday on Monday. We approved our 2023 apportionment reports from Deb Allen. We, approved, we're gonna start, our animal control is gonna start a new euthanasia, program that we used to have back before the big financial meltdown in 2015. And we approved a fee schedule for that. We approved a bid for some work at Schmid Park. We talked about, doing some zoning changes, we didn't do anything with that. And what Todd's here talking about tonight, we approved our end of that. We're gonna pay our share of it up front. Other than that, that's it.
I got a question for you.
Yep.
In that meeting, you guys, talked about Gratiot County has county-wide zoning and Montcalm doesn't. What's the hitch in between that?
I really don't know, I gotta investigate that because I didn't know it was that way myself.
Cause as much chat that comes the Crystal Way, if it were just mandatory at the county level, all those problems would be gone.
Yep, I don't know as though, the townships have voted to have it, be county zoning here. I think a lot of townships wanna keep it themselves.
Can you do a little digging and see why Gratiot did it that way and how they did it?
Like I say, I don't know anything about it, but I'm gonna do some checking on it. Anything else?
Okay, move us down to fire, thanks Chris. Fire report, Mike, anything you wanna say?
September, we had 4 runs. One was a landing zone for Aeromed. We had a car accident, chimney fire, and power line down. 1 business meeting, 1 training meeting. Been about it. I mean, when we have I won't say slow month, but a less than average month, we always compliment our fire prevention program that we have in place, so that's really about all I have today.
Okay, thanks Mike. We did get our, fire grant that we applied for Mike last week.
I don't know.
About a week ago, $10,000. So. DPW, Mike's not here, guess probably. We got a letter Tuesday, we are losing one of our boys, so, in 2 weeks. Moving out to Wyoming. Duck Lake Improvement, Shirley ain't here. Downtown, Dave ain't here. Montcalm Police Report, no police here. Leads us down to trustee report.
Alright, pass these on down, please. Yep, you should be good to go. Organizational cell, that one's yours. And this describes what the commission model of governance is, and then the strong supervisor model of governance. And I wanna take this time to gone through both trustee books that I have, the policy book matter that I have, and I'm really glad to see you here tonight, Kevin. Cause when Kurt let me know that you were so angry at me you could spit, well, I went back and double checked, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And a trustee is supposed to be proactive, they're supposed to analyze issues that might be happening in the township and head things off at the pass. It's not a, if it's working, don't even think about it kind of thing. We are supposed to be paying attention to what's going on. We are supposed to get answers to questions that our constituents have. Also did a webinar on the art of the agenda and chart chats. They were thrilling. While I was in chart chat, that's through U.S. Department of the Treasury, and there is a very handy yearly budget tool on the U.S. Department of the Treasury.
There sure is.
FYI. Also, talked with the attorney at the insurance company. After a number of tries, she got back with me and she said, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, okay, well, I just rewatched the meeting to make sure I had it right, and I looked at our proposal that we had, and here's what it says. And she said, could you send me that part of your proposal? Because we really don't do that. You each have a 90-minute limit per year. So, like, doing one policy would eat it all up. So that is not exactly how that's going to go, and policies will have to go through our own attorney.
She told us to.
So probably chew on this information, do your own looking and see what you can come up with, commission and strong supervisor, so we can have a discussion that we can all have input into, please. Conclude.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. Okay, let you go, Todd. This is Todd Sadler, our drain commission. He's here to explain our Sharon Barter drain where they're gonna do $1 million job.
Hey, how are you guys?
Alright.
Sorry, I don't ever make it around to these nearly as much, so I apologize. Most people I probably know I'm from here anyway. So really, I don't wanna dig way deep in the weeds because I'm sure that this isn't all coming brand new, so I don't really wanna start all the way from the beginning. But the main reason I'm here tonight is to talk a little bit, I got a little backstory, I can explain all that on how we got where we are. But ultimately, I'm here to talk about tonight about the prepayment, the reasonings, the assessments, and that kind of stuff. Kurt, did you bring any of this stuff up in the past at all?
Last board meeting, I told him I thought we was looking right at 100,000, but I think it's a little over, right?
A little over, yep. So, short version, I'll give anybody the cliff notes that wasn't here. Drain was established in 1903. The drain had different petitions on it. It was extended, tiled, and cleaned to be a petition in 1925, which is actually the portion that we're gonna be looking at replacing. So this tile is just shy of 100 years old right now. It had another clean out by a petition in 1948, and then in 1986 there was a petition to do this same work and clean the north end of the drain. That went down. It didn't have support through the BOD process. It ended right there. Boy, I wish that it wouldn't have, because it would have been a hell of a lot cheaper. But nonetheless, then in my predecessor in 2019 did what was called Section 187 of the Drain Code. It's where we really go through every single assessment roll for all of the drains. We do each of them specifically for the drain, but you really recalculate all of the acreages and you come up with all of the factors for the assessment. You use new technology, GPS, this kind of stuff, so you bring things way up to today's standards. If not, you're required by law to go back and use the last known tax roll. So for a lot of these drains that maybe hadn't had an assessment done since the 40s or earlier, you could be looking at a tax roll from, you know, the 20s, 30s, 40s. You could be using something that's very outdated. You know, that we always update the landowners and the parcels, but the information might have just been drawn because the road was here and then that woodlot, and there was just some really vague information. So now we do it all based on LiDAR, contouring data. It doesn't matter how it goes through the property. You can own 40 acres. We don't assess 40 acres because that's what your parcel. We assess the however many acres drains in the direction of the drain and the other is out or it's in a different district or whatever. So it's very, very accurate today. So that process was done in 2019. Then in 2020, a petition came in for these same items that had been kicked around for the last 25, 30 years. That petition went through the BOD process, ended up being voted on and approved by the panel that it was deemed necessary. That was in early June of 2021. We have, then we go through the process, we have the engineering firm get together, they look at the problems of the drains and try to come up with what is a respectable plan on this. We work through cost best we can. Everyone knows how much has changed in the last couple of years in the construction world, the costs for just about everything. Bid opening was held towards the end of July. We had 3 total bids, CL Trucking, Jackson Dirt Works, Dairyland Excavating, $893,000 for a low bid, $179,000 for a second bid, and $1,371,000 and some change for the high bid. So really they're staggered, a couple $100,000 apart. So it's worth mentioning that our low bid contractor was actually, I think it was about $10,000 or $15,000 below our engineer's estimate. So we were really thrilled in today's world to get an estimate and to get a contractor that we felt was real quality and to get a price that we felt was real good. I know everyone would be, it still feels expensive and I'm right there with you, but in the grand scheme of it, it is a good bid. So after that process happens, we hold a day of review, which is where we send out letters and we notice everybody in the district who is liable for an assessment. The drain commissioner has the ability to set the assessments how he deems fair. I'll not bore you with this stuff, but I go through a lot of laborious work to try to determine fairness. That's pretty objective, but I do my very best. We produce a tax roll, we send all the mailers, anybody in the district has the ability to come and review that tax roll and see what they're liable for an assessment. They have an opportunity to appeal, whether they feel it's fair, just, the methodology that we use. 10-day window is open for that, nobody appealed on it. After that process of the 10-day closes, then we verify that nothing has changed, we recalculate everything and make sure everything is good, and then we send out letters at that time for prepayment. Historically, prepayment has seemed really insignificant because we were all looking from a municipality standpoint of paying 2-3% interest. There wasn't all that much incentive. That's not where we are today. Today we're looking at 6% interest pretty easily. So a couple things that's important about prepay. Obviously saving money, that's great. The other thing that it does from us is when we have a project that is over $1 million, anytime we can receive prepayment to get that down below $1 million, it opens up some different opportunities for us in the financing. We no longer are stuck just with treasury bonds, and we begin to do some direct sales where we can purchase directly through different banking institutions, because you get over $1 million, they're not interested. That's why you see me yesterday talking to the county, because full faith and credit is very important. That's the surety. It's you signing for your son to say he can afford this car, because if he doesn't pay it, you're on the hook. And that's why most of these projects require that full faith and credit, because the township as a whole really doesn't have the financial capacity to be able to offer that surety to these bonds that we sell and stuff. So we always try to get enough prepayment to get that down below $1 million, because it lets us be more competitive. The other thing it does is, people don't want to see the bill on their taxes. So if they can afford to get that paid up front, that's great. I don't have to tell you about saving money on interest. That's a pretty no-brainer. The big thing that happens though is I want people to understand the revenue stream and what happens when people pay off early. And I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that you don't pay off early, because everybody wants to pay and be done with something whenever they can. But what happens is, when we offer this prepayment window of 3 weeks long, a little more than 3 weeks on this, I have to close it down. If I just leave it open, I don't know how much to go and finance. So I have to draw a line in the sand and say, that's it, we've collected everything we're gonna collect. Now we turn around and we go and we discuss with our bonds, and we have our municipal advisor go out for the remaining portion. When we take that money in, the municipal advisor, we purchase bonds that maybe on a 20-year project like this to have a maturity of 10 years. We are requiring, right, we signed up to pay, let's say, a 6% interest on this bonds for 10 years. No matter how early we pay it off, we are still required to have 6% of that balance paid off. So when we offer the prepayments and nobody takes it, but then 1 or 2 years later, $500,000 shows up on our doorstep, I can't legally refuse it. But what happens is I do not longer get the revenue or the interest revenue from the landowners because they paid off early, but I am still required to pay the interest to the bonds. So when that revenue stream goes down and our payments don't go down at the same rate, we end up with a shortfall. And a lot of people don't understand that process. And what really stinks is when you don't and you get to a shortage, Big Brother as the county steps in and has to pay that because they put their full faith that they were gonna make those bills. So when we get to the end of the project, and this is an extreme situation, but let's say we got to the end of the project and we didn't bring enough revenue, and the county was flipping in money the whole time to make it, at the end of 20 years, we have a deficiency. I now turn around and I have to levy that taxes back against the same district all over again. So the very people that paid this off early to save themselves from the interest are back on the hook for the interest all over again. So the thing I try to tell everyone is, do the best you can. I know not everyone is sitting there on a lot of cash to take care of this. But if If you can pay as much as you can when you can. If you can't, realize that there's a period of about 10 years where there's really no huge advantage to paying that thing off because I'm still on it. If we bring in extra money through early payoffs, we can pay the thing down as quick as we can. But when we take in, let's say, $100,000 of an early payoff, they don't take $100,000 off the balance. They take $100,000 of payments spread over 20 years. So they might say, we're gonna give you a $5,000 deduction on your payment off of each payment over 20 years. Well, that doesn't help me right now when I need the money now. So the way we combat that is when we sell our bonds at, let's say, 5%, we charge 1% additional to the residents of that district to help with that shortfall. So we're really building up little funds in the front, knowing that we're gonna have that, because the farther we get down to the bottom of that, people are gonna be wanting to jump off the ship and pay their portion right away. So we manage that all the time, and I constantly look at what are we bringing in for revenue this year, what do we have for capital outlay on that, and how can we kind of balance that back and forth to make sure that we're not getting ourselves upside down. Because what happens is sometimes somebody will bring me the money to pay off, and I need that money to make the payment this year, so I don't apply it. And that's kind of I don't wanna say that's the game, but that's the portion that I have to be in charge of to make sure that we're constantly making this. And if we need to weather a few more years, then we apply additional payments if we can get that down, because our future revenue is gonna be coming up short. So for Bristol Township, I don't know if all you watched the meeting, maybe you didn't. As a general rule, all drains that we have in Montcalm County, we run a 75 and a 15 and a 10% assessment. 75% goes to the residents of the district, 15% goes to the Montcalm County at large, gets collected directly from the county, so that means all taxpayers of the county are more or less paying for that portion of it. And then the 10% is paid by the township at large. Now, if in this situation, the township, the drain district goes over 2 townships, we say, hey, we'll just use a simple number, there's 1,000 acres in the drain district, and you have 900 acres and you have 100 acres, then you get 10% of the at-large bill for the townships, and you get 90% of the at-large. And that's real close to about what this is here. Bloomer Township has a little over 1%, you guys have a little under 9, something like that. So, that's kind of how we get there. Now, in this situation, that's the methodology that I use for all maintenance projects across the street. My predecessor went to all those links to set those assessment rolls up. They're pretty well put together. There's no real reason to kind of deviate from that. It's pretty a widely used system that's used across all of the state of Michigan for that. Now, when it comes to a special assessment project like this, we tweak and change that based on what we feel is the derived benefit. So we have some different stuff, and what we do is in this project, roll what I call your soft costs, and I spread it over the entire district, meaning your engineering, your design, the maintenance that we had, the inspections, and then a big thing that we're required, and you hear this number of the bid, but what you don't hear is that I'm legally required, obviously I've got my engineering and my stuff, but I'm also required to levy an additional 10% above all of our costs to cover what's called contingency. Because once this bond is sold, and I put this assessment out, I cannot assess this drainage district for the duration of this bond. So that additional 10% in this situation, $130,000, is all of the money that I will have to do any maintenance or any needs that the Shinnebarger Drain has for 20 years. If we have to spend more than that, I set on it as a deficiency free of charge, and I wait until this project is over, and then I levy it. There's a pretty good chance it won't be me in 20 years. So I'm very careful about that. But so the reason I put that in part of the soft cost is I feel like I don't have any idea where to know this maintenance could happen. Could be down at the bottom end, top end, could be on section tile, could be open ditch. I can't forecast Midland Dam break or a 1986 flood any more than anybody else. So I'm stuck saying this is the money that I have to conserve for the spraying, for any maintenance that we have. So I feel like that's fair to spread that amongst all of the district. So that's how I get that base cost. I spread that base cost on all the parcels, and then after that, and we pulled the 25% from the other stuff off the top, I'm left with about 55% of this project, and that's what I spread on the bulk of the areas. All of the drainage districts north of Holland Lake Road is picking up the rest of the tab, because that's where the bulk of this work has happened and is happening. So a lot of the residents that are downstream, they got their assessments. Seems pretty small, not a big deal. A lot of the residents that are upstream, we got some pretty good sticker shock on this. It's the fairest that I felt like I could come up with. So, Crystal's portion. So, Crystal's prepayment amount is $106,783.20. I believe that got mailed over to you. Probably, you want me to say it again? 106, comma, 783.20. Okay, we're gonna forecast interest right now in the letters that I sent out and everything. Again, I don't know the interest until the bond actually gets sold. So we're always kind of speculating a little bit. But we're budgeting right now for 6%. We're thinking we're gonna get it sold, so we're thinking we're gonna be around the low fives. So we're planning to kind of offer it around about 6% to the residents. 6%, if you did not pay that, your annual payment would be, go ahead with your pen here, $9,309.85.
For how many years?
20 years. Which totals $186,197. Means you pay an additional interest of $79,413.
Right, is that, do you know the window yet?
October 26th in my office by end of business day.
Okay.
And I will say this, I wanna go out on a very shaky limb right here, okay? Because I know how hard it is for a township to just pour this out of their back pocket. We did a project down in Bloomer Township. It was with the project come up into the village of City of Carson, right? City of Carson did not have it forecasted right then, but they wanted to put it in their fiscal budget, which was gonna be coming up in another few months. So we were able to get a resolution put together that the attorney signed that made them specifically liable for a portion of it because they could pay what they could now and they didn't wanna pay the rest for another 6 months when they got that budget approved and they had brought that money in. And I was willing to do that because of the time frame. It was a fall project that we were going through, but the construction wasn't gonna happen until the next year in June. So we had some window that we could wait. The real sticky part for me is I need to feel extremely comfortable that that money comes in, because if it's not, I signed up to pay $1.3 million for a project, and I don't get a couple $100,000 from the city, I'm stuck holding the bag. So in their situation, I went to great lengths with some legal attorneys to be able to say, hey, how do we make sure that we can get this money, and if we don't, what is our repercussion? How do we go and get it from them physically, So I say that to say, if this came down to it and there was a need for the township to have a few extra months, I think we could come up with something. I don't know the right process for your situation yet, you guys can kick it around. The other thing that's worth mentioning is, when we sell the bonds, you automatically have 1 year's worth of capital interest calculated in there, because we're gonna sell these bonds and collect money, let's say in December maybe sometime. But we're not gonna bring any revenue in, and this isn't gonna go on the assessment roll till next November. So we're gonna be setting on all of this money and not bringing any revenue. So that first year, we more or less take our total cost, and then we add the interest back on top of it, because we have to figure that in the cost up the front, because we're needing those residents to pay it. So if you don't pay by the end of the 26th, on the 27th, your interest is the same as it is next year on the 27th, because that first payment has it all rolled into it. Okay? That was funny to digest.
Wasn't county share.
Fortunately, the county was on this paper, we just crossed it off, because all the rest was the same. County share was $177,972. Bloomer Township is gonna pay theirs, it's a different situation, Bloomer Township's tax basis is different.
Yeah, they got the prison.
They got the prison,
I
their
don't know how much
prepayment was
we
about,
do.
I think it was like $9,200 or $9,700, it was around $10,000, so, I don't make those rules up, though.
You don't.
Questions?
Anybody any questions for him?
Can you go through that one more time?
I can, but it won't be the same, because I really just regurgitated that.
The duck paperwork's a little bit easier.
I thought about that, I thought maybe I should give the correspondence for Duck Lake, I was just here 2 minutes ago and talked about all that. So I guess I kind of look to you guys, and part of the other thing that helps me is, I keep track of the prepayments, obviously, but I really try to keep track on who I think is gonna prepay. Because in this situation, we have a contractor that's willing to get started here in just the next few weeks. But if I don't, let's say I don't bring any money in for prepayment, or we get just a few $1,000, we don't get enough to really do anything, I can't start until I have the money, or it's not far off. Well, I would like to get them going, because their project plans were to get started and do the work through this winter. I don't know what kind of winter we're gonna have. If you check out my acorn trees and what I've been raking, we're gonna have this much snow.
Yep.
So I would love to get them in there and at least get the portions that they can get started on now, because we have so many farmers that are wanting to take advantage of their crop rotation and get the fields tiled and that kind of stuff. We've been doing the best we can the last couple of years to make this happen, so. So if I can get that prepayment, or I can get an idea that, hey, this is gonna happen, or we're gonna do 50, or we're gonna do whatever, I really wanna get that down below a million, and I really wanna feel comfortable that I can reach out to our engineering firm and tell them to issue a notice to proceed, so that that contractor can feel, hey, I can safely build structures, I can safely order pipe, we can get this on our schedule, we'll be in there in 3 weeks, or whatever the time frame.
Anybody else? Wanna talk about that thing?
Okay,
Good job.
I'll be here in a bit.
Thanks, Todd. We wanna discuss it now, or?
Well, what kind of phone numbers do we have in the park project? Any?
What was it, 750?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yes.
I didn't bring the folder with me.
Okay, and I know that's on here later, but do we have any idea when anything's gonna get going? And I know it's
We
on
do.
the agenda.
Yep.
Well, then, do you wanna go back to this after the park project? Cause I don't feel comfortable until I know something on that one. But if you wanna go ahead, that's fine.
Why don't we just do the park project update now too?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thanks, Pat.
Park project, we got the approval from Eagle, I'm gonna say Monday. They're posting it for bids on Monday, October 16th. They'll go out for bids on November 1st. They have a walkthrough, so bidders can come and they meet with them down there if they wanna come walk through it. And then bids would be due by November 15th, and they'd be open, we'd have a special meeting November 15th, in the afternoon to open the bids. So it's going out to bid.
Is that bid through a public plan room, or is that bid right through, your engineer's plan room?
Michigan's beneficial.
Bid network.
Bid Express?
Mhm. I think that's what she said.
Let's see, can we talk about the 15th real quick? What time are we talking about a special meeting on the 15th? One, I have to work, I cannot get it off. There's already 3 people gone that day, so I can't get that day off.
Okay.
I would love to, because it is opening day of rifle season.
I said that, it's a state holiday.
It is just, yeah. I just can't get it off work that day, so
Okay.
it would have to be an evening meeting for me,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
That's fine, Alexa.
okay. I'd love to have that day off, believe me, I'd love to have that day off, but I can't get it. I already tried.
I was like, why does she know it's Randall?
Excuse me?
How many months can you give us?
100.
Like, because our fiscal year ain't until July.
But we have income coming in
Right.
starting in December.
Correct,
They
but
gave
you
you
know, we,
50 now, maybe.
and then we don't get all of it, and then the rest of it doesn't come until May.
So when is the CD up?
And that was where I was
going.
going.
Now, I will tell you that in the situation where I offered it to Carson City, they physically had the money in their account, so this wasn't about we need to collect it. Their situation was that they were so close to putting together their budget for the annual year that they felt the best thing to do was to forecast it in the budget to make sure that they got to go through the approval process and everyone was fine. And then they didn't care if they cut the check right then. They already had some money earmarked for this project because we had obviously been working on it. They just didn't have it budgeted in that fiscal year, so.
It's a different situation.
Yeah, ours is, we don't have in the budget, but we can adjust the budget, because we're
Right.
not done till June 30th, so it's not really the budget, it's.
We did not do the CD when we were first going to, so it either went out to January or February before it renews. However, that's gonna take not quite half of that CD,
Right.
And where are we with the park project? Where can we go before we get any reimbursements? How much are we gonna have laid out first? Do you have that schedule or
I
anything
don't
like
have
that?
that schedule, because I don't know when the project is gonna start actual construction.
But do you have an outline or a good thought on, okay, we spend, we get this part of it done and we pay for it and get reimbursed or anything?
I don't have any
Nothing.
The partial disbursement thing, is there any way you can get into, whoever you're talking with at Michigan Grants? Because you did choose the partial disbursement on that reimbursable grant. So then if we had an idea of, okay, you spend 50 or you get part A done and it's 75 and then we'll that would give us a better idea of what we're dealing with, I think.
So ask the grant people
Yeah.
when we can start getting those.
Or what the parameters for accessing the partial disbursements are.
And then we know more.
Then what, you want, have a special meeting next Wednesday?
Yep.
Cause he needs it by the 26th.
I would tell you, don't put yourself in a financial tough spot to pull your hair out to make this happen. I'm gonna guess that our interest rate on the borrowed money is gonna be as good as your interest rate on borrowed money. If this was a process of I have it, but we need to go through the proper channels to get everything organized to write a check, that's one thing. If this is about we're waiting for Peter to rob Paul so that we think we will have it, that's a little different, and I don't want you to, I wanna feel comfortable too.
Well, and it's not Rob Peter
No.
to pay Paul, there is money, but there's a big project going on that has its own variables.
And then
Correct.
this would save us $80,000.
So when we get some of those variables worked out, then we know.
Right. And you might have to, and I mean, you gotta look at it one way, either I'm borrowing money on your behalf, or you're borrowing money on your behalf over there. Somewhere or another, there's only so much money to go around, and you're gonna have to
Right.
borrow it, whether it comes from granting funding or whatever the case may be.
I just know
You gotta
80,000
remember,
is
Pat, even when we have
lot.
money coming in, 7% is what actually the township gets out of taxes.
I
It's
know.
not that much. So that is, yeah. But,
So I guess if you come up with that, hey, a reasonable amount, hey, we can do 30, or we can do 50, or whatever now, and the rest ends up being borrowed, it is what it is, you know?
So it does.
But what I don't want to happen is, this is what I really
No,
want
just
to
whatever we can afford.
I don't want you to say, hey, we'll do 50 now and we'll see what happens. And then I don't want you to come and see me in March and say, hey, guess what, we found the other $55,000.
No, the window's
That's
closed.
not great for me, and it doesn't, and that really shoots me in the foot, because that's 6% interest that I don't have for the next 20 years on 55,000 that I just banked on.
Right,
Those are the kicks in the butt.
right, makes sense. Okay, we have a meeting next Wednesday.
Okay. 7 o'clock?
Sure. Miss Alicia wants the day off.
I wish. No, it's not, I mean,
Okay.
I gotta ask Todd one question, Todd, this kinda goes with that. Had, people that are part of this Jinnebarger drain concerned about the maintenance of it because they feel that the Weed Brook drain, that huge project that was done there that was, said it was gonna be maintained, has not been maintained. So they're concerned this huge project they're putting their money into, is it gonna be maintained?
What do you mean that it's not being?
They said it hasn't been,
It's
the weeds aren't sprayed out, it's. filled
about like
with-
my town's always been known for, you know, like I was concerned the year before. We dragged a ditch, they forget about it,
Then
till
we
we go
don't do
back
anything
up.
with
Right.
And that's, the Weed Brooks is the well one behind Kellogg's, going back to there, and they're letting it grow. Well, it wasn't when you're, it was,
Oh, this isn't the one I just cleaned?
no, this ain't the one you just cleaned, it's the
Oh.
one that was done before.
Okay.
And they're letting it do about like they always, you know, kinda grow back up.
There's only a handful of us, so I do the best we can. So when we started with the maintenance stuff, I kinda went back and I picked up, we went back, all right, where did they work 7-8 years ago? Some of the stuff 7-8 years ago was too far gone to spray it. So we came to the realization that we could go back 4 or 5 years and we could spray that. I really hated to go back and re-mulch or re-clean the banks and everything, what we could. So I focused my energy and said, all right, where did we work the year or two before I got here? And then we spray. So theoretically, moving forward, after we dredge a project or we clean it, we go back to next year and we spray it, and then we put it on a 3-year spray rotation to try to stay in front of it. So, a project that already happened before me, we can go and look at it, but let's be honest, we've been busy here in Crystal Township, and I don't know how much more you guys or the residents wanna pay. You know what I mean? I tell everyone the same thing, if it took 80 or 100 years for this stuff to fall apart, it might take us more than 1 or 2 to put it back together, you know?
This project here too is, what, 90% of it's all tile, it ain't no open ditch cleaner.
This portion is all expensive, and that's the
why
big
it
thing
costs
is,
so much.
we did as much as we possibly can through maintenance, because I have the knowledge for it, and we can do that work, but we also can, we can do that so much cheaper, and we're not bound by the drain code. When we go into petition, when we have to make improvements where the tile needs to be larger, or it needs to be deeper, or it needs to be in a different location, the drain code doesn't allow me, that's no longer considered maintenance. Maintenance is, it's a 10-inch tile or a 12-inch tile that broke, I put a 12-inch tile back in. The ditch is full of sediment, I clean the ditch back out to the bottom of the old ditch. But when we need to redig a ditch 2 foot lower than what it's ever been before, or we need to put 24-inch tile where there's 12-inch, that gets the state involved, makes us have to do a petition. There's engineering and there's costs that go with that, no different than building a park project, so.
Okay, move on. Okay, Kevin's here with the sewer department. I guess he's here to explain what kind of ground we got out there, because there's a few people that think it's top-notch dirt.
Well, I guess what's your question now?
Sarah's probably got-
First of all, Sarah, I wasn't so mad at Bridge, let me say it. I was kinda disappointed that nobody contacts me or asks me any questions about anything.
Well, and I came out to like figure out the file mystery that, you know, I've been told for a year that files are burned up, they're not here. And I come out to you and you're like, no, they're right here. They did not burn up. I'm like, okay, so. I didn't go out there because what I am running into is not a you issue. It's your department and you're running your department just fine. It's a board issue. Because, let me get to the next round of handouts. Okay, this guy right here, you wanna pass it along. That's from our assessor. And those 2 parcels are the 2 parcels that are rented at the sewer. They're actually owned by the township. So the contract from 2020, which is right here and pass one down, that's the 2014 to 2020. 2014, in my estimation, would be valid because it was sewer district property at that point. In 2017, the sewer district conveyed the property ownership to this board. So in 2017, if this board owned that property, then this board should have a contract with the renters, as far as I can tell. And that's kind of where I'm at, that, yeah, it's nothing, you're doing your job, Kevin, right on with that. But it's the ownership of the property, the township being the owner of record, so we should be the ones with the contract with whoever's renting it. And it's not about what kind of ground it is. Carson, in the paper a couple weeks ago, Carson is renting their sewer ground for $120 an acre.
And they don't pump nothing on it, Sarah.
Right.
Check the whole thing out.
I'm leaving the 70 that gets the effluent on it, you've got 55 non-irrigated according to this contract. And Carl has 20 or 25 non-irrigated according to
I don't
that.
have 55, I don't have 55 on here.
That's what it says, dude, that's what your name's on.
My first question, is it appropriate that it is township property?
I don't
It's
know.
deeded to us, Pat. Whether or not that's appropriate, it's deeded to us.
And this is information from our assessor, because I wanted to make sure what I was seeing on the parcel viewer was in fact correct. Because I brought that up as, here's what I see on the parcel viewer, and get told, sewer district owns it. Leave it alone, sewer district owns it. Well, that's not really true.
Well, I can see where Sarah is going with this, I think we all can, if we own it, not the sewer department. And as a board, then we're running it to a board member, without a board contract or board approval.
I'm kinda lost on all that because the sewer, the people that pay the sewer bill all pay for this. So why isn't it sewer?
2017, the sewer district transferred the conveyed ownership of those parcels to this board.
Who was
So
voting
it's
that
Sandy,
2017.
so when Sandy signed those off,
Is that when it was paid off?
Oh, you didn't get
That's when it was paid off in 2017?
two-sided.
Oh,
I think it was paid off way before that, but was it
deeds
you
were,
or Sandy?
Sandy
before
It
that?
would not have been me if it was 2017.
Sandy did the deeds, I'm thinking in 2017, all those deeds came through.
Yeah.
And they must have came through to Crystal Township, and they should have been to Crystal Sewer
So
Department.
the drain commissioner is still owns Duck Lake, right? You have the bonds for that.
Yeah, I don't wanna jump in here. What happens
You're
is,
here.
so, when the projects are built, they're built through the drain office, right?
Right.
So they are considered drains, or the properties are considered a lot of times ownership of Montcalm County. You talk to an assessor, not always is the naming actually perfect, right? But because it's full faith and credit, because we're the ones that pony the money and build the thing, it's in our names. When projects get paid off, then, okay, how do we clean this stuff up? Some of it is so-and-so's insurance company says this needs to be written a certain way. Hey, we just realized that we've had a property that's been in our name for umpteen years. Somebody came through, I mean, we just found out here a few months ago, we still had property for Pearson, that we've had for a system that's been out of our hands for 20-some years. Well, it took somebody doing some house cleaning, nobody was concerned because there was never a tax assessment. My assumption is that that was either after it was paid off, they were doing some house cleaning, whatever the case may be, somebody went and say, hey, we just noticed this property is still titled to a division of Montcalm County, and it should be titled to either the township, the sewer authority. I'm not sure who picked what or how they picked it, but
No.
that's probably how it got changed.
Deal when those,
But you are correct. Technically, right now, I don't know if you would say that Montcalm County owns that, but Montcalm County is still on the hook because the sewer system pays Montcalm County to be able to pay for their annual payment on, on
Right,
what we have.
doesn't the bond go through the county, because the county can get a cheaper bond for
The
it?
bond goes through the county because that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Think of them as the county works as the credit, right? Their ability to
Right.
make this is the assurance that these people say, hey, this is gonna be good for it, you know?
Whose signature is that, Kurt?
Mine.
Is it? That looks like an M, not a C. So that's why I was
I
asking.
guess what gets me, Sarah, up to this board meeting, you've been complaining for what they're renting it to me for.
Because as a farmer's daughter, that's cheap as all get out, and that put my flag out. So then I started looking into it. And then I have people stopping at my house saying, hey, are you Sarah Daly? I got something to talk to you about. And I have listened to them because they are constituents.
Yeah.
There is some restriction on this ground though, you know.
You can't feed it to humans, I know that.
Sure.
But
So,
cows,
well-
it takes money to feed cows.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read this book, it'll kind of like tell you why, I didn't know it either until I read this. But wastewater has a lot of calcium and sodium in it, and that ruins the ground. So like, Southfield has a life expectancy of 118 years or 113 years, and Northfield's 119 years. And when we have an overlap, that's only 58 years, and the ground's done.
You taking all the nutrients out of it, or just destroyed it?
Sure.
Period, okay.
According to this.
Okay. No, I believe
All
you.
scientific stuff that
Yeah.
I don't know a lot
Well,
about.
that's why people rotate their crops.
It makes me curious how Carson's getting so much out of theirs.
Because they're done irrigating
Yeah,
or
there's
nothing.
no effluent
Okay.
going on. You know, I think in the past, you started out at 1,200, I wasn't here.
Yeah, well, 800, I think at first,
it got up to 1,500. When the board made me administrator, there was a time where they wanted to go out for bids, and somebody, I think a farmer from St. John's area, said he wanted to bid on it, but he wanted to control the water. And once I heard that, I said, that ain't happening.
Well, that's not an option.
See why he wants to control the water, you know, but that can't happen. So you got a lot of, different scenarios going on here. The trenches in the field right now, they're like 18 inches deep.
Yeah, where the wheels go.
I got all the pictures if you wanna see them.
I've looked at the overheads.
How often does this go up for bid?
Never.
What'll come up?
When's the contract? When is your
When
contract?
you made me administrator, I decided to start all over with this thing. So he just put hay in, so I made it a 7-year contract, cause hay goes 5 to 7 years. And, it wouldn't be right if you put it out for bid 3 years later, you lost hay.
So when is the 7 years up, is what I'm asking?
What's that?
I got 4 more years left.
4 more years, okay.
You told me it was sod that was in there when I asked you this summer, Kurt.
There's what?
Sod, or a turf, not that you had planted it.
I said I planted hay.
No, you told me it was sod or a turf, Kurt. It had to be special.
Planted hay.
Yeah, you did.
2020.
BS. That's what you told me.
You said hay in 2020?
2020, you planted alfalfa up there. I mean, this,
That makes sense.
you can look at it and see alfalfa.
Back Kevin up, you say went out for bids. Same thing happened as it did back in 2008, when the board had a few then, cause I just became a trustee, and we brought Danny Eller back on board.
Okay.
It made Paula Plank madder than H. So she tried to go like Sarah is, it's against the law for me to rent it.
It's not. I showed you
And-
where you just disclosed, that's all.
But, so Bob Nauman, our lawyer said, well, we had a sewer administrator board then. And there was what, 6 or 7 on that? They went up to the drain commission office, and their lawyer, they said, run it out. That time I had 3 years left on the contract. Run it out and then put it out for bids.
Okay.
So Bob Nauman put it out for bids. Like Kevin said, we only got one person that bid on it. And he wanted to control the water. But the sewer, as long as I've run it for 30 years with my dad, the sewer administrators have always handled it.
In 2020, when he made me an administrator of this is when I changed it all. And actually, he was paying $1,500 a year. And where is it at here? I made it $35 for 55 acres, non-irrigated, which is $19.25.
Carl's, I think.
And the 69.9 acres, which is 70 acres, is $1. So I have control of the water.
Okay, so the 55 acres that's non-irrigated, why is that? Why is that ground
It's just not very
compromised?
good ground. My dad gets 35, he got 35 an acre until the farmer put irrigation on a few years ago.
That is not what any of the averages around Montcalm County through Farm Bureau or for USDA, that is not anywhere
All I
near
know
it.
is we went from 1,500 to 1,925, so I raised the rate.
Oh, and I totally get that, but we need to stay with value for value if we're doing stuff as a township. That is how our funds are supposed to flow. So the non-irrigated portions definitely need to be relooked at and need to go out for bid. And in light of the fact that it is us on that, it needs to be from this body.
Well, there's a little more to it. That 55 acres is where they took the pond, dirt out, and put on top of it. Then, there was another, I don't know how many acres that, I tore that fence all out of there, it was like sod. They took all the topsoil off it. And after 30 years, we opened it up and it built a little bit of topsoil back. And we had Kurt farm that too, so we didn't have to maintain it. We didn't have to mow it anymore. So we added that to the other field. I just don't think it's worth much, really.
Well, and I think that's up to bidders to decide if it's worth, and you know, if Kurt's the lowest bidder and he's disclosing it, we're all good, and that's all I wanted
I'm
to
just
bring
going by, I'm
up.
just going by what's been done in the past, so I kinda, some of it, I still do what they do in the past, some of it I changed, do it my way a little bit, and so I kinda follow the lead with this stuff. Just kinda redirected it to
And they
one
can't get
dollar.
nobody to farm it, Sarah.
Well, and when's 2020 is the last time it went out for bid? Did it go out for
We didn't
bid?
go out to bid then.
It didn't go out to bid then. When's the last year it went out for bid?
It was 2008, the raise, I think, after, so it was about 11, probably, 11 or 12.
So, yeah, we're more than a decade.
And the ground's got worse and worse every year.
And that's up to people to decide if they would like to take that chance or not, because you like to take that chance.
But if he has a contract for another 7 years, a legal
4
binding
years.
4 years, I'm sorry, a legal binding contract, what's the ramifications if you say, as a board, we wanna get rid of that contract? What's the township gonna have to pay? Is there anything in the contract
It's a
saying that?
contract from an entity who didn't own it at that time. I think if that needs to go to the attorney. Like, we're not gonna figure it out because that property was conveyed before that contract was made. Yeah, this is Carl. Carl's was before this 2020 contract, that's after.
I apologize. I have no idea why my alarm's going off, but I'm gonna shut it off. Before it tries all.
So I would make a motion, this whole parcel goes to the attorney for review.
I'll second. Because I've had people approach me too, okay? And if they're
And so I can be honest with you, I know you guys won't believe me, but I've already talked to our attorney, and I've hired my own attorney.
If, I don't think that you need to do that.
Well, I did, when Sarah brought it up the first time, we talked to Bloom about it, and Bloom says, you gotta determine who's controlling it, and Kevin is.
Well,
People get mad at us.
the
when we
property
talk
was
to them
conveyed
and
to
they
this
say,
board.
"Oh, you know that."
Oh, yeah. So then I talked to my lawyer, and he says, well, you run your contract out, and the only thing he devised, if the board wanted to control it, that I didn't vote on anything.
Correct, but was he aware that that property is owned by this board? Because what I was told by everybody was that the sewer district owned that property. That's what I was repeatedly.
Don't forget though, that when you transfer ownership, any ties and stuff like that that are tied to that property go with it. Our easements for county drains, they go to those parcels, I don't care how many people they mine and sell, they're tied to that parcels.
Okay,
So just remember that when we had easements for different sewer districts, just because we changed the name on it, those easements don't become null and void, they go with the new title people.
Correct, but the contract, one of the contracts was after the.
I get that part.
Yeah, but whatever.
They both were.
Thank you. Well, this one says
2014 is when Carl says.
23, don't it say?
April 23rd or 14th.
23, oh, 14,
Yeah,
okay.
14. There's no date on this one, I can read. Correct.
Got a motion by Sarah, just turn it over to a lawyer, second by Nancy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye.
Somebody better abstain.
I'll see. This motion fails.
Motion fails if you abstained. I didn't hear anybody say no.
They didn't vote?
So 2 said yes, 1 abstained, and 2 didn't vote, right?
What is
That'd
that?
be a no.
I don't know.
Don't they have to vote, or?
They don't have to know, but I don't know what it goes to if they don't.
I'll ask our lawyer.
I mean, that's what the thing is, to take it to the lawyer, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
the
the
motion.
motion, so, I mean,
Okay.
I think it's a
bigger issue than just this contract. Much
What you mean?
larger.
And it needs an attorney's brain on it.
We need to find out why is it township property versus
Right,
sewer district property?
that's,
Why is the whole township hooked up
again, take it to the.
to the sewer district when they're not?
Because the deeds were conveyed back to the township, Kevin, probably like Mr. Statler said, when those Crystal Lake sewer loans were paid off, or sometime thereafter when they caught up with their paperwork. So then they just turned it back over to the township.
Do you all think that's right?
No,
I don't know, I'm still looking for
Another
I
information.
think that's the problem
You
I'm
know,
having.
that's another
I
question.
think that's right.
I personally don't think that's correct, because the sewer property should be owned by the people that pay into the sewer
Everybody pays
district,
for it.
not for the entire township.
I'm with you on that, that's,
So that's why I think it's a much larger issue than just this contract.
Makes sense. I have another question about the sewer department. How's the sewer study going, you know?
I'm gonna call them tomorrow. They've kind of been slacking, I haven't seen them in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been slow, not too happy with it.
Shouldn't they gather their information and then they go back and
They
do
got a lot,
the
well,
study?
they got a lot of young kids working. They got a lot of excuses.
Okay.
One, they didn't show up for a whole week because they didn't have a pickup. You know what? So, yeah, I'm gonna get a hold of them tomorrow
I'm just wondering.
and find out about that. 'Cause it's, a little bit concerned about that myself.
So where are we? Did everybody vote, or what's going on? Tie this up so we can move forward.
Okay. Where are we, Beth?
It sounds like 3 are abstaining and only 2 will step up and do something and actually vote.
Kurt already said he was gonna take it to the attorney, so that was the motion, right?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean,
Did you
wasn't
make-
that the
you made a
motion?
vote?
Sarah's motion was to take it to the attorney, Kurt said he was gonna do that, so.
There was a
No,
motion.
no, that's not what he said.
That's not.
Isn't that what you said, Kurt, you was gonna take
I
it?
said I'd take it to the lawyer and find out what he says.
Yeah,
However,
that's what he said.
however,
What you said.
Huh?
however, we don't know what your vote is or Pat's vote is. What was your vote?
The lack of when you don't answer like that, then that's an affirmative, so it passed.
It did pass, okay.
Yes.
So, just clarifying for the group.
No.
It doesn't sound correct. I think that Alicia, you and Pat need to say yes or no. Kurt has abstained.
Okay, we'll move on.
We
We
can't move on.
can't
Let's
move
find out.
on until you.
I'm gonna say no.
Parliamentary-
I'm gonna say no. There. Cause I think it's a bigger issue. I'm with Patty.
However, Kurt just said he's gonna go to the attorney.
I thought he meant he was going to the attorney to ask what to do about the vote with 2 yeses,
No.
2 no answers and an
That's
abstain.
not,
No.
that's not what you said you were gonna take to the attorney, right? You said you were gonna contact the attorney about Sarah's, what she said, right?
Well, I think I did say yes, find out, because I didn't know what, when you get to, I figured, but no one said that, I figured it's a no vote, but that's what I.
May I
I'm wrong.
request,
So now a no response is a yes vote? Oh, okay.
may I request that we have the attorney's summary of that in writing and it gets passed out to us? I will not respond, we will not telephone, but I would like that information, please, from the person who gives it.
Are we done to unfinished business?
Correspond. I got a seashore permit on North Shore, 660 North Shore. Barb sent us all a letter.
Is that the letter I sent right after the last meeting?
Yes.
Is there some reason that you're not reading it out loud?
We don't usually read them out,
Read our correspondence.
correspond out loud.
You guys don't have anything else?
No, thanks,
I'll
Todd.
take it next week, okay?
But before we get off the day,
The community, my town community closet,
Should've been college, I didn't.
college, I mean,
I wondered, I'm like, what?
I saw that after.
unfinished business. American Rescue.
I got nothing on that. Anybody else does?
What happened with A and B? Yeah, A and B.
Under unfinished business?
No, under correspondence, what happened with A
They just
and
said
B?
that they got
It was
letters
a-
from them, that's all they do.
Yeah,
They don't
email
read
from
them.
him, correspondence from Barb, and then a letter from the county.
Okay, is that the E you read? I'm just curious what 660 North Shore is.
It's a seawall.
It's a seawall request? Okay. Thank you.
Unfinished business.
And,
American Rescue, no. Okay, community center.
I got something on that.
Is it the blank?
Haynes did, give us a bid for.
Oh, did they give you a bid? I didn't get that one. Oh, he didn't even.
Is this document?
Okay.
Okay,
Quite a bit less.
quite a bit less?
Yeah, like 17, as opposed
So,
to 30
20.
something.
27.2 or 20?
Yeah,
Okay.
you have to look at it.
Yeah.
I gotta calculate.
Okay, what's this?
That is a quick claim deed that got dropped into my email with an attachment that says there is a covenant on the deed of this property that we are not supposed to do anything other than township stuff with it for 15 years, which would put us at 2026.
There should be another one after this.
Oh, that's next side.
Well, yeah, I didn't go searching for this. This ended up in my box and I wanted to see if this was valid.
So it's incomplete.
There's another one after this, because Mr. Swanson came when he was interim superintendent and handed me another quick claim deed saying congratulations, all this, but I can pull that for you.
So there's no restrictions on the next one.
No.
And that's dated after 2011. Okay.
Okay,
Wait, I wanted to talk about, because we had talked about the community center and the blight thing, the
Yes.
grant, that came out, I sent that out to everybody. And, you know, are we interested in this? And I found it interesting that the Land Bank Authority grant, blight elimination program was good for demolition or rehabilitation. So, do we want to pursue this, either to demolish or put a new roof on, at least try something, or?
Is there a match on that grant?
No,
Yeah, I think if we can put something together, we should.
It does need to be lighted and vacant.
Well, that part's blighted and vacant in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
It can be vacant.
What kind of implications with our insurance are we gonna have if it becomes blighted? Is that
We need
gonna
to-
make
what's
any
the
bottom
term?
When
line?
is it blighted? What's the determination?
Utilities have to be connected for a year or more. Building official has to declare it a blighted structure or owned
So
by
we already don't
a
qualify.
land bank or municipality. It is owned by the land bank, or by a municipality, so
Yeah, but you know, it's.
governmental entity.
There's still light, heat.
In the building department, my understanding is when they've been through it before, it said it's a strong structure, it just needs
Needs tender
love.
loving care, yeah.
So what's the rehab part of it? Wasn't there rehab?
Rehabilitation of vacant residential.
That would also
commercial, or
need to be
industrial.
blight to be rehabbed.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
could use that.
So that would work here. Oh, so. It was a thought.
Once we get that blight designation and part of the structure, which goes in your insurance question
Right.
to blight.
So it's not an option. Right? I thought, when you sent me that, or sent us that, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, Nancy and I met with Linda
Yeah.
last week, week before. We hung out for a while and chit-chatted about possibilities with it, and yeah,
Not-
the insurance going up against the condemned and blighted, that's its own thing beyond the fact that, yeah, no utilities, so.
So nothing on the community center for
That moves us down to policies.
So Sarah got the same response that I did from the insurance attorney, or that she wouldn't look at those, so I didn't do anything further with those two from last month, because I didn't, we didn't wanna go to our attorney, so I didn't do anything further. I did get back, and that was in your packet, from our attorney, the review of the ethics and proper conduct. So
Yeah.
this was his take on what I sent him.
I'm pretty pleased with how this wound up. I've read through it a few
Yeah.
times. One part that I did find in section 18, the second section in there, township board member who intends to reside permanently outside the township shall resign from the township board by submitting a letter of resignation. I believe state law says that you can live outside of the district by vote of a board majority. So that to me seems.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah,
That would
I
be
like
something we would need to investigate, because I don't think you can live outside of the township and be on the board, but I could be wrong.
Well, not permanently. You could temporarily, is what I've run across in other places, that you ask the board for a temporary reside. I know school boards have done that as well.
That's not my understanding, but I could easily be wrong, so I think we need to investigate that.
So I wouldn't say it should be permanently, I'd say it would be temporarily.
Well, this one says they
And
should.
then it should be with board approval.
They're saying that you should be able to get board approval to let them temporarily, but not in the township.
Yeah, that's not what that says. That says.
Right, that's what we're
intends to
saying,
reside.
that we would like that to be worded a bit different.
Or added to,
Okay.
depending on what that law says, if that
Oh,
is
okay.
true, or if it's not, just leave it out, but I think that's a thing.
I don't think it could be permanent, but it could be temporary.
And that's the only thing that stuck out to me as, looks pretty darn good.
Let me clarify that one.
Yep.
And so do you want me to send the other two, cash handling and grant policy for review?
That would be awesome,
I
and
say yes.
so yes, I would make a motion that
And I'll second that.
the grant policy and the cash handling
Yep.
and receiving policy go to the attorney for review next. Do you guys want a copy of these, or do you want me to just send you an electronic copy there?
Are they any different than?
I fixed the things that we talked about the last time.
Yeah, send me a new copy. Just send it to me.
Yeah, you can send it to me too.
Alrighty.
Motion by Sarah, seconded by Felicia to send, cash handling policy and the grant policy to our lawyer for his opinion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Kurt, one question. Once the policies are all approved, are they gonna be placed on the township's website so that the residents can have access to them, please? Okay, once they're approved.
And that's the next new one for consideration for next month. Please write on it, draw it up, have your ideas. Yep. Purchasing.
Okay. Internal control study.
I got a hold of Linda. She does not have insurance. She said that we could hire her as not hire her as an independent contractor, but as a temporary employee, if we so choose to.
How about, I think I brought up a background check. Because
Yeah.
we're supposed to be doing background checks.
Yeah, I didn't do that because I
Yes,
stopped at,
Sarah found something out on there.
On Michigan.gov, we can do free background checks. You have to sign up, take a little thing. What's up, Mr. Mike?
I can have law enforcement, background check done.
So,
All I needed to get is a couple little tidbits of information, we run it through the sheriff's department, they give it right back to us.
sweet.
So there's no cost to it.
Right on. Well, Michigan.gov isn't either, so spread it to your friends.
You should you might just close yourself, Tammy.
No, I did not.
Oh.
I checked out background check companies and then I went through the state and Michigan.gov /MSP /services, I think. And that will do criminal background checks in the state of Michigan for any municipalities for free also.
Okay,
Hire her as what though, Pat? Let's go back to
A
that.
temporary employee.
temporary employee, which should be covered under us.
How long are we hiring somebody for?
As long as it's one of those audits usually take.
It's not even gonna be an audit.
Well,
They're not doing an audit, they're doing a study.
I've been in
See how you
contact,
do stuff, walk out the door.
I've been in contact with her and was gonna talk with her the beginning of next week. We're trying to work out a day to get a little bit better idea of what is she thinking and what are we thinking and what's our timeline and what are we looking for.
Good, Sarah. Where'd you just say? Okay.
Okay, compactor.
Yeah, I gotta apologize, people, there was no cardboard empty today, and they won't be until next week. Due to the walnut trees, I didn't let them leave the cardboard recyclers underneath those trees, and the parking lot should be cleaned up, this walnut, make a mess. So where I had to put them, they could not access them today because we were removing the asphalt for the new compactor. So next week, the cardboard will be empty, because they've been turned around now. And other than that, we're going forward with our compactors.
Okay, while we're talking,
I'm with you, Sarah.
I noticed,
What?
She was dancing.
Oh.
I noticed last week, once he got it marked out,
I talked to
we're
Kevin
pretty
about
close.
that.
I called Kevin about the drain,
Yeah,
and I think we should probably get that fixed or it's gonna be flooding it.
right, but I asked Kevin to please not interrupt the concrete for that, because I don't wanna hold that up.
Well, that won't be, because we're gonna be going the other way.
Right, but not have him start tearing that out and stop what he's doing for the
No,
compact.
we already talked about that, he's gonna do what he's doing,
Yeah,
this is a whole different project.
Yeah, right.
so do them whenever.
But we've gotta have okay, right? Just can't tell him to do.
Or we should put it to a motion that you're gonna get a price or something?
He's working on it.
Okay, well, as soon as
So,
he gets a
okay.
price, maybe you can add it to that meeting next week.
Okay.
Yeah. Good to go.
Okay, we already talked about the park project. New business, sewers already been taken care of, trick or treat hours.
I make a motion, we set trick or treat hours for 5 to 7 on Halloween.
Oh, second?
Motion by Patty, second by Sarah to set our hours from 5 to 7. Are we having, here in the park?
Yeah, they do trunk or treat too.
Trick or treat here in the park. Okay, it was,
So we gotta vote.
all in favor of trick or treat hours 5 to 7, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Moves us down to a marijuana window.
We need to open up a marijuana window. I would recommend to accept applications from October 12th to November 3rd, which would be the Friday prior to our board meeting. And then I can get the packets, so you guys would have time to review them, and then we can have the public hearing and review the application at the next board meeting, November 8th.
Okay, and this is for medical, right?
It's anything.
It's anything.
Anybody can apply for anything.
Okay, and how many licenses do we have open?
2.
For both? Okay, all right.
Technically, we have 2 medical open, but they could
Put 'em
be
in
anything.
whatever.
They could be. So I would make a motion that we open up a window for the marijuana applications.
I'll second that, Pat.
Motion by Patty, second by Nancy to open up a marijuana window from October 12th to November 3rd. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. That puts us down to, CMS server. Now, what's the deal with our server? It ain't working?
So wait, where are we talking about getting a new server?
Is our server ain't working or what?
It works, working here today.
Why do we get a quote on one for them?
It just looks, it was prepared for Chris Johnston, so I couldn't tell you.
This just showed up in my email, so I assumed that you had talked to him or something when the server was slow.
I called them if it's not working, but no, I did not ask for a new server.
Okay, that's an easy one. Okay, got another, shit. I don't know, Litwiller. Her husband died, he, South Carson was her husband anyway. Cal Litwiller's wife. Caleb. She called and she wanted to run she's running a daycare and she's looking for a room to rent.
Okay.
She said she's licensed now, but she'd have to get licensed for here. And she wanted to know if we'd be interested, how much money.
This community needs daycare.
Yes, we do need daycare. Here's the deal, where does she need access to the
She
gym?
says, no, she don't want nothing to do with the gym, just a room. I told her the only really room, and I don't know, she'd have to look, is where the hockey mats are.
Yeah, can we have those removed, please?
Please.
But she might have to rent 2 rooms if that one ain't big enough. There are 2 rooms on that side here.
Yeah, because.
I told her she might stop by Friday. I said, I'll bring up the board. She'd like to just look it over.
Gotta remember that.
I told her Head Start was here.
Right, and.
She said, well, that probably worked better.
You might wanna run it by
Head Start.
ACAP to make sure it's okay, because she's gonna have parents coming in and out.
Yeah.
And they already don't like the parents coming in and out, they want parents to, ring the bell.
Yeah.
So just, it couldn't hurt to ask
Okay.
them, but that would be we do need a daycare.
Yes, we do.
And I would hate to see us turn away
Yeah,
something like that,
I would too.
just because ACAP says they don't want people in the building.
They might just want it to be monitored, who knows, Pat?
I know.
Do you
they
have
want
some
it.
price of what to charge her? What do you think here?
We have no idea. Other than daycare's expensive, or it can be. And she is licensed, right?
She's licensed for her place right now, but the state knows that she's moving to
Okay.
someplace else. So
The
she said
state
she'd,
would come in and look at it,
Right.
which is fine.
and I say Head Start already gets
Well,
inspected, so they're probably gonna pass you, but.
for a price, we really gotta look at how long does it take people to clean things and what bills are we paying per day, and let's
I
just
think
do
she
some
probably
math
clean, I'd have
problems.
to ask, I think she probably do all her own cleaning, about like Head Start, just using the room and. I'd find out
But,
for sure.
okay, wait a minute, those
Uh,
rooms don't have bathrooms.
Bathrooms, hallway, parking lots, things are still, they're getting a benefit, so
Where
we need
Head
to
Start
slice
has the
Well,
that.
I think then that just goes to the price that you're gonna charge her for rent, you take all those into consideration.
Exactly.
When you
Head
do
Start
that,
has their
so.
own bathrooms. And those
I'll
rooms
tell her
do
to
not.
look it over and we'll negotiate rent after.
No, those rooms do not have their own bathrooms.
So they would be the.
What's that?
Those rooms do not have their
No.
own bathrooms.
Down
So
here
this
it does.
become
You
ADA
don't want her down
compliant.
there.
No,
No,
we don't want her down there.
no.
No.
Okay,
So I wanna lead that into something else. That does mean extra cleaning of the bathrooms and this and that, and I think sometimes that, I keep going back to the fact that I think we need to hire a cleaning company for this building, that will do the bathrooms, do the windows, do the rooms, stuff like that. I know Mike does do a lot in here, not if he still will be willing to take over, polishing the floors and waxing the gym, stuff like that. But the general cleaning, look at the desk next to your desk in that room, it is filthy. The windowsill is full of dead bugs.
yeah.
So sometimes, I hate to say this, but,
So instead of price, then it should cost us.
yeah.
Even if
More discussion? That puts us down to public comment.
I have a question, Kurt. Kevin, who do you work for? Who's your first line supervisor?
Kurt?
Board members? All board members?
I'm
works for
assuming
the board.
I'm,
He worked for the board.
But who do you all sign his,
They got their own,
Kurt signed his paper.
I signed with it, but, Janet, they got their own.
no, I'm talking about line of supervision, not payroll. My question is, if you work for the board, who signs his appraisal? All of you, all 5 of you?
Never seen one.
He doesn't get an annual appraisal?
We
That
haven't
was usually
done
one.
one in a while.
I know it was a long time ago.
Long time ago, they used to, and then they
Right,
just
and what happened?
quit doing it.
Quit doing it?
Because
So he's working for the board. I guess, from my opinion, because I did work for the federal government, so I know conflict of interest and everything else. And if board member is involved in this issue, then I would think that that board member would have to recuse himself from all actions surrounding this subject matter until it's clarified. And that's just my opinion, you know, that's, to keep people from talking, because there is a lot of people out there talking. And I just think that would help settle down the community if Kurt recused himself. So when Kurt says, well, I'll go and talk to the attorney, I think you should be recusing yourself and having someone else go talk to the attorney. Just to keep everybody,
Makes sense.
you know, neutralize yourself, back off from the issue, since you're also in line of his supervision. You know, because I'm sure you give him instructions from time to time or whatever directly, you know, so that's just my opinion as a taxpayer within this township.
I would support that, and also, Sarah, you were smart to say, I would like something in writing, because then you cover yourself there as well, but I would happen to agree with this lady.
Yeah,
Anybody else, Barb?
yeah, and I hear what he's saying, that how he values the property, but we need to go to the guidance from you can get off the internet of what the value is per acre per property. We're not a licensed person to assess the value of the property. And you have to go to the guidance of the, yeah. You know,
I just think there's a big concern because it is the supervisor of the board that's renting this property that hadn't been disclosed in the past, and now it's come to light, and I think you guys just need to pay attention and, yeah, get it cleared up so that those of us will then again have faith in our board, because I think a lot of people have lost the faith in the board at this point.
Yeah, there's been a lot of things that have happened in the past. You know, like I brought up the issue about whether or not we've been paid back by ACAP. While you say so, you've not demonstrated the records to show. Well, by the way, the records are now with the former clerk, which is against the law. You should not have them. And as a board, you should be concerned about that, because what other things are being hidden that have transpired?
I agree, I think transparency is everything, especially in today's environment.
Yes.
And Sarah, I appreciate all that you're doing, because I'm under the opinion, just by coming to these meetings, that you're quite often under attack because you're trying to
get transparency.
And thank you.
I second and third that.
Work for you guys.
I fourth and fifth it.
Yeah.
It's appreciated. And you could hire people to come in and consult and do some of the things that you're doing, but you're taking it on yourselves. And no discredit to the rest of you, but we appreciate you.
And that's why we think that our supervisor should not call the attorney on the sewer thing.
Someone else needs to
Yes,
step
somebody
up
else
to
has
the
gotta
plate
intervene.
before this is.
There's two of us that can talk to him, this being Patty, so Patty will call the attorney.
Okay, why is that?
Why, just
Why
who?
can only you or Pat talk about
We
it?
voted on that long time ago,
Well, maybe
Not
we
before Sarah was
bring
even on
this
the
back
board.
up, because I don't think that's right. I think there's a couple other people that
Well,
don't think that's right.
he'll tell you, he don't want everybody from the board calling him. He wants two.
Well, in this case, Kurt, it ought to be somebody else that can stand in your.
That should be a board decision then, and it should be a motion,
It
and
was a board
probably a
decision back
person,
then.
well, we
But
could
this
probably
is-
have another one.
You got a conflict going on here,
Yes.
so you need to back
I
out.
will, I'll
of
let
this.
Patty call. I don't
And
need
somebody
to.
else be there with her talking. I don't,
Yes, somebody else needs to be with her at that time.
yes, not you, you should even.
No, I won't.
Yep. I'm with Nancy. If Patty's gonna do it, somebody better be with her.
I'll let you know, yeah, I don't know.
Alicia's gonna be with Patty.
I'm gonna let her know my next day off, which I do believe is not next week, I think it's every other week, so it might be in 2 weeks. So, I will let her know.
I was just gonna mention that if reviewing that deed to the township of its property around the sewer plant, there is always the option, if you find that perhaps that was an error, that you could convey that property to the sewer district to correct that error.
Sure.
That may take care of a couple issues, including the contract, indicating it's a correction. Wow, somebody wants to go home.
That's a good tone for us.
That's great.
Going off, Kevin.
Anybody else?
Is that Dr. Lake having a problem?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Nancy, second by Sarah to adjourn.
8:37.
37. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
It's hard to see right here. No.
Must go payroll, going on top.
So hard.
Where's gonna find him for me?
Now, this is what for discount. I want that down there.
Without a system.